ER, IR, and UR. They all say the same thing. So that's what we're going to, that's why the reading class in the next half hour is going to be so easy, because if you see an ER, an IR, or a UR, you're only going to say one sound. They all say Um, Spelling, however, you have to figure out, is it an ER, an IR, or a UR? And here's the thing. In English, there is no hard and fast rule to know when to use which one. There's a lot of memorization involved to know if it's an ER, an IR, or a UR. However, after a lot of research and experience, I have found some patterns that will help you to know which one to use. For instance, ER will usually come. Now, all of this is usually and often. It's never and always for this lesson, okay? There's very few always patterns in English. There are a few, but they're rare. There's a lot of usuallys. This one is an often. It's a usually or an often rule. So ER will usually come at the end of longer words. So ER will usually, often come at the very end of a multi-syllable word. Painter, toaster, printer, computer. When that happens, ER is acting as a suffix. So suffixes add meaning to the base word. A suffix is a word part that you add to a root or a base word that provides meaning to what that extends the meaning of that base word or root word. So for instance, a painter, ER, the suffix means someone who or something that. So a painter is someone who paints. A toaster is something that toasts. A printer is something that prints, and a computer is something or someone who or that computes. So for ER, I mean, it does come in some short words like her, but the usual pattern is that it will come toward the end of a multi-syllable word. And ER is the most common way to spell, well, R is the most common way to spell the sound. But if you have to choose between ER, UR, and IR, it will come in that order. Okay, look in your chat. ER is the most common, UR is the next common, and IR is the least common. UR often happens in words that have to do with nature or temperature or the environment, such as burn, turkey, fur. That's an often rule, not an always rule. And then IR happens in a lot of descriptor words like thirsty, girl, something is firm. So ER, end of multisyllable words, usually. UR, temperature, nature, environment words. IR, descriptors, adjectives, descriptions of states or conditions. So you will find, and I might do a class, I might do a whole nother class on this or another course on this sometime. This is called morphology. Almost all of our words have, when you dissect the parts or the chunks, they have logical meanings to what those word parts mean. And that makes spelling and reading even more expansive when you can understand why those words say what they do, such as chemistry, that CH is a Greek word, such as those prefixes, the suffixes, ER, it adds more meaning to the base word. So when you understand that morphology, then you can understand what's happening inside the word even more. So I'm going to throw little bits and pieces of that into our lessons, especially today, because we need it. So, are you ready? So let's practice. Now, having said all of that, memorization is something that I usually harp against because I don't want you to have to memorize the spelling of the word, because it's not that teaches you how to spell one word. It doesn't teach you how to spell anything else. So I teach you how to spell so that you can spell all the words or most of the words, right? So that's why I don't teach you how to spell memorize a single word. I want you to memorize the spelling patterns so that you can spell infinite words. Having said that, sometimes you have to memorize. That's just because we speak English, and English words break typical phonetic spelling patterns often. Those are called true sight words in my Learn Reading program. When you are spelling a word with UR, ER, or UR, ER, or IR, sometimes your brain might think bird. Pretty sure that's an IR. Your subconscious might think, you know, I'm pretty sure that burn has a UR in it. You're going to have some memory flashbacks of if it's a ER, an IR, or a UR. Go ahead and allow those to help you discover the spelling when you have to use those words. Those are controlled vowels anyway. All right, so let's get practicing. Is your mind blown already? How are we doing? All right, let me pull up my chat here. All right, so our first word is that we're going to do together, plencher. Plencher. Sounds p, l, e, n, ch, er. Consonants p, l, e, n, ch, er. You might think that an is spelled just with an R right here. However, the reason why we have to have a UR, ER, or IR is because every syllable has to have a vowel. So that's why that UR, IR, or ER is there. We can't spell that with just a, this whole syllable has to have a vowel in it. And we're going to put an ER right here because it's at the end of a multi-syllable word, and that is the spelling pattern that is most common. For the we're going to put a regular E there that can say just fine because the next two letters are consonants. Okay, your word to try. This word is going to start with a k sound. We're always going to use a C for that sound until August when I teach you the difference when to use C, when to use K, and when to use CK. So use C for now. Your word is krebler. Krebler. K-r-e-b-l-er. Krebler. And then go ahead and put it in the Q&A so I can see how you're doing. Krebler. B like boy. Oh, I like that, Lily. We call the IR the sound that R makes her. Let me scoot this over. Bird. ER, the sound that R is making in her, and UR, the sound that R makes of hurt. Yeah. Do you remember at the very beginning when I was saying that ER, IR, and UR all say and then I'm like, but not really. That's what I was talking about, is that sound for is so subtle between and Most people can't hear the difference. I love that you can, Lily, and that you understand that. That's beautiful. So our word is krebler. 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 All right. Consonants. K, e, b, l, is going to be spelled with an E because the next two letters are consonants. At the end of a multisyllable word is usually spelled ER. Krebler. Okay. Number 2, primeper. Together, primeper. P, I, m, e, p, primeper. Consonants. P, I, m, e, p, You already know what's going to go here, but let's go in order. For the I sound, we always start with a single vowel. Can that I say I in that spot? Yes, it can, because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors away. That would force it to say its name I. That's what we want. We always start with a single vowel. Can an E say in this spot? No, it can't, because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors away. That would force it to say its name, E. I don't want it to say E, I want it to say is a short vowel. Short vowels require 2 consonants after them. If there's not 2, make 2. Now it can say in that spot. At the end of a multisyllable word is usually spelled ER. All right, your word. Bleemitter. Am I not sharing my screen? Thank you for saying that. Let me just... Bless your hearts. Bless your hearts. You were all just hoping that somebody would say something. Thank goodness somebody did. I want this one. There we are. So there's plencher, krebler, and pry, mepper. This I can say I because there's a vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots. This E has to have 2 consonants after it to say I'm so grateful that you said something. Thank you, and everybody else thanks you too. Addison and Sarah and Nicola. I just needed to I just needed to scroll. Oh, there we are. Okay. Everybody, thank you for saying that. Okay, your number 2 is bleemitter. Bleemitter. B o e m I d er. Bleemitter. For the D sound in the middle, it could be spelled with a T, but I want a D, D, D. Bleemitter, D, D, D. Bleemitter. Bleemitter, yeah. Nice. Bleemitter. Bleemitter. So I want blee, I want that E sound at the beginning, and then I in the middle. Bleemitter. Okay? So consonants, we have B, O, E, M, I, D, er. If you put a T here, that's okay. It can spell the D sound sometimes, but I'm going to spell it with a D here. So for the E sound, can that E say E? Yes, because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors away. We don't have to do anything else. It's perfect right there. I. Can this I say I? Not yet. That has a vowel 1 or 2 doors down. That would force it to say I. I want it to say I. So that requires 2 consonants after it in most cases. However, I in the middle syllable can say I even if there's 1 consonant after it. So if you knew that and you left that as 1D because you knew that rule, great. If you knew that I in short vowel needed 2 consonants after it, great. Both spellings are just fine. And then for the sound at the end, we're spelling it ER. Okay, number 3. Now I want this word to be about nature. I'm going to say that this word, let me just put a little hint right here. So ER is end of longer words, usually. UR are nature words or environment words, and IR are usually adjectives or descriptors or states or conditions. Descriptor words. All right, so this is going to be a nature word. Big juicy hint there. Our word is flern. Flern. N. Consonants. N. We know we can't spell it with just a regular R because every syllable or every word has to have at least 1 vowel in it. That's why we're using our ER, IR, or UR. This is going to be our choice for a word that has to do with temperature or nature or environment. Flern. Your word is also going to have to do with nature or the environment. Your word is shirl. Shirl. Sh-er-ul. Shirl. Go ahead and put it in the Q&A. Shirl. Nice. Good. Shirl. So we have our consonant sounds, sh and ul. We know that we have to have a vowel in the middle in our word somewhere, so it can't be just a regular R. It has to be a UR, ER, or IR. Since this has to do with nature or temperature, I'm going to put a UR here. So there's shirl. That's going to be our most educated assumption on how to spell the sound in this word, because it has to do with what it has to do with its morphology. Okay, last one. This is going to be a descriptor word. So this is going to just describe somebody. Okay, so together our word is purdy. Sounds like pretty, but not, maybe if you're from the South. Purdy. P-er-d-e. Consonants. P-er-d-e. Vowels. I'm going to use the IR since it's a descriptor. And then E sound at the end usually sounds, is always usually spelled with a Y. Purdy. Did you get that? Purdy? I'm going a little fast here because I want you to do one more before I have to let you go in 30 seconds. So try this one. This is also a descriptor word. Shermy. Shermy. Sh-er-m-e. Shermy. It's a descriptor. Maybe somebody who's squirmy. Shermy. Yeah, see, you're getting it. Good. Shermy. Shermy. Good, Danielle. Okay, so our consonants are sh, m, e. For the sound, since it's a descriptor word, I'm going to use an IR. For the E sound at the end of a longer word, we usually spell it with a Y. Now, I packed a bunch of information in that 30 minutes, did I not? Aren't you glad you came? Because now you have that information in your knowledge bank to draw on for the rest of your life. You know that ER, IR, and UR all say the same thing, but they are used in different parts of different words, usually based on what the words mean. ER is much more common than the others. The next most common is UR. The last most common is IR. Go ahead and rely on your memory for what you think that looks like, because it's probably going to be correct if you have to make an educated assumption. Otherwise, use these spelling patterns that I've just taught you, and you'll be right most of the time. So, chew on that. I will see you in the next lesson on Wednesday. Those who are hopping over to my reading class right now, you're in for a treat. I'll see you there in just a second. Bye, everybody.